Hello there and welcome back. This is episode 18 of my Realignment 2028 series as the expansion team, Oakland A's, excuse me. Um, and yeah, we are now into the 2031 off season. Just finished the 2030 playoffs. If you haven't watched those yet, go ahead and take a look at the last video. But yeah, spoilers, we lost in the first round, well, the division series, which reminds me to actually rename that while I'm thinking about it, which it didn't let me do that mid playoffs, but should allow me to do that here. Yeah, so the round two will now be called, this should be wild card series, division series, uh, championship league series, and world series. And DS and WCS. Okay. Um, yeah, and you can see how the playoffs are currently set up. I'm not changing any of that. It does reorder by seed every time. Best of three for the wild card, best of five for the division, seven for the ALCS, and then World Series is also best of seven. We lost in the division series, now properly named. And yeah, we're into the off season. So let me just go down my handy checklist here. The international free agents. Annoyingly, I had done that at the end of the last episode, and it looks like when we went to the off season, it just completely erased all of my relationships and accurate scouting that had to happen on these players somehow. I don't really understand that, and it's annoying because I already ran my monthly practice for November, so I can't do it again. Um, so yeah, I'm slightly annoyed by that. I guess I know to just wait until the off season next year because it will apparently erase your progress. I don't think that's ever been the case before. Kind of some weird glitches that I've run into so far in this version. Check out the last episode for a fun fall league glitch where I had players, young players on my playoff roster, namely Lorenzo DeJesus and Scott Sharpton, who were simultaneously playing in the playoffs and also in the Arizona Fall League. So, yeah, those guys are just very talented, I guess, or just hopping on a plane every night, playing during the day in Arizona and then hopping on a plane to Oakland, or we were playing against Texas. Just going back and forth every day. They're very dedicated to their craft, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, as far as waiving people goes, just these three right now. These guys are all kind of quad A players that may come back, may not. If we lose them on waivers, I'm not going to be too broken up. Desan Hill might qualify for that as well. And I just usually like to check and see, if anyone will offer prospects for them, I might keep them around. In this case, Desan Hill, yeah, um, they're actually offering a pretty decent looking pitching prospect, but he is 25, so yeah, so he'll stick around for now. But any of these guys that didn't get offers, I will go ahead and waive and maybe try to keep around in the minors or throw on the 40 man at some point later in the off season. Um, Personnel is fine, although I do need to remember to actually go through, and because I hired all my personnel at the same time, pretty much all of my personnel's contracts are expiring at the same time, which is at the end of this season. So I'll want to go through and likely extend most of these guys. I'll kind of want to evaluate individually, how much it's going to cost for each one. My scouting director, I mean, I think I'm safe to just extend him right now. He's pretty excellent. So let's do one saved about 200K a year. That's not nothing. He wants pretty much the same amount of money. Like, I'll do. I don't usually haggle too much with minor league offers. Yeah, anything close to what they're offering. In fact, usually I'll just give them whatever they offer, depending on how much they're looking for. But I'll do this off camera. Those two guys I definitely wanted to extend. The lone exception will be assistant GM. Since I am GM, pro tip, assistant GM is basically meaningless. Like, they don't, I believe, affect your development of your team in any way. They're basically just there as a sounding board for potential trades, and even then, I'll overrule them a lot of the time. So, I'll let Chime Bloom go and hire whoever looks the best out of any available people for cheap. Like that. That's one way we can save money. Not that our budget is particularly low this year. I'll get into that in a second, but yeah, it's good to save money where you can. That 200,000 here and there, like 200,000 here, 50, 100,000 there, like it adds up, and it may be the difference between being able to, sign somebody or not at some point down the line. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll deal with the personnel later. In fact, I'll put this in yellow so that I don't forget to deal with the personnel later. Because, yeah, I'll likely want to go through and extend most of these guys, but I'll do that off camera. Roster eval. So this is kind of tied in with our budget and arbitration free agency. Like, I kind of went through at the end of last season and, looked at our roster. There's a lot of interesting decisions to make this off season. Let's just go into the arbitration because I think that's going to be, the bulk of where our interesting decisions are made here. I've already gone through and done some things, so you can see arbitration eligible players, some big names in here. Gavin Jones is probably the biggest name. He was hurt for most of last year, but he was our ace the year before. 5.1 WAR. Hopefully he can return to form next year. I did look at what it would cost to, offer him a long-term deal. So I offered him this 10-year contract. He wanted, outside of his arbitration, like $35 million a year, which is crazy high money for someone, he's not hitting arbitration until age 31, I think. He's got four years of arbitration. Like, this is his first eligible year. So I'm not committing that kind of money. I was willing to do a 10-year deal for much cheaper, like with two option. It was actually an 8-year deal with 2 option years on the end, those $30 million years. And then, a more reasonable, I think, $11.5 million, like for 8 years. But I'm not doing the that high of an offer when he's 27 and coming off of an injury this past season, so I'm hesitant there. So he's just getting a normal arbitration offer close to what his estimate is, which, by the way, I usually just do because I don't feel like guessing every time. I'd give them about 95% of whatever their arbitration estimate is, and they will accept that every time. So, pro tip there. And Bello and Ferris both had good seasons, but they're both kind of individually good seasons. Ferris obviously had a good year back in 2028 for us, and then another good year this year, but 2 mediocre years / injury prone years in between. So it doesn't make sense to toss him a long-term deal. And then Bello, this is his kind of first breakout season, although he's had a solid ERA the other 2 seasons. He is fragile. He is 26. If maybe If he has another solid season next year, I might look to extend. Cooper Kinney had a bounce back year. Again, he's just going to get the arbitration offer. Cutter Coffee, I kind of toyed with the idea of extending him because it wasn't going to be that expensive. But I think he's the type of player that, like, this is kind of his ceiling right now. As, like, I'd love for him to prove me wrong and go out and have a 4 or 5 WAR season next year, but I think 3.3 WAR is about what I would expect as the ceiling for what he can do at age 27. And so, yeah, and that's across a full season. You know, he put up solid numbers in the other 2 seasons, but dealt with some injuries or wasn't starting for the full season, you know, so um, yeah. So I don't think it makes sense to do a long term extension for him either. My biggest priority going into arbitration slash free agency was locking down Drake Baldwin because he has been probably our best offensive player the last few years, and B, we don't have a solid replacement at catcher for him at all. So you can see I went through and, like, I made several offers to him, trying to put team option years on the end because I like to do that. Um, and, you know, this was not like, these weren't bad offers by any means, you know. 3 years, like, and then he just keeps increasing the amount of money he wants to the point where now it's like close to $30 million a year on average. And I just think it makes more sense right now to give him the qualifying offer and let him test free agency and then keep a really close eye on him to see what he offers, because I guarantee that the offers he's going to get in free agency are going to be similar to what I was offering him, you know, or less. So I, and we do also, unless he gets re-signed, Austin Wells will also be available in free agency, who's another, like, comparable catcher in terms of what he can do both defensively and offensively, I think. Now, how much money is he going to want? I don't know. Ditto for Karsten Williams, who he's got wrecked injury proneness, though. Yeah, so, and not that shortstop is a position we were looking to, you know, deal with anyway. Imanaga, I haven't made any kind of offer on. At least the last time I checked, yeah, he still wants about $14 million a year, and that's just, like, with where our starting rotation is at and the fact that he was kind of bumped out of it by the end of the year. Like, we've got Jones, Sieber, Bello, Swim, Ferris, and then even Bautista could be a starter, and also, you know, Clevenger. Snelling's still locked up long term if he can bounce back. And also, who was the last person I was thinking of? Snelling, Clevenger, Swim. Oh, and then, of course, TJ Strapidopoulos, who is hurt right now, but also projects to be, you know, a starter of the future for us. So, with all those guys, I don't think that I need to bring back Imanaga. I think I need to save money and spend it elsewhere. And one of the things I thought about doing with that money is trying to extend Luke Keyshaw. But if you look at what he wants for his salary, like, yeah, I'm not signing him to a 9-year deal. That's just not happening. He's had one good season this year, after having, you know, pretty good season in 2029, pretty mediocre season last year, and then a good season this year. So, given what he's done so far, I don't want to sign him to a long-term deal. I'd be looking for more of a 3 or 4-year deal. So if he takes the qualifying offer, whatever, it's not the end of the world. Like, I wouldn't mind bringing him back for $20 million next year. Like, that's fine. But if he rejects, then, you know, we probably won't look to re-sign him unless again I'll kind of keep an eye on him and see what kind of offers he's getting. Um, but yeah, I'd rather get the comp pick, and I don't know exactly like if I know when we signed Volpe, we lost a third round pick. I don't know if the comp picks we get back are similar, like third round or lower. Because I know it used to be a first round pick, and that was excellent. Like, I would gladly give up some of these guys for a first round pick, but if it's only a third, then less so. Um, so definitely have to keep an eye on catcher. You know, I think Baldwin, we will still look to re-sign in free agency, um, but it makes sense to just offer him the qualifying offer and let him test free agency. If he gets offered like $30 million a year from somebody, then we're not going to match that. But if he keeps in around the same, 25-ish million a year range, even that, I was trying to offer him a 5-year deal, well, really a 3-year deal with 2 option years at the end, but I would sign probably a 4 or 5 year deal for him. I think that would be okay. Um, just because, again, I think we need to get either Baldwin or Wells or trade for a catcher, because we don't have like our next up catcher. Dylan Moss was solid as a backup, but he's not an everyday starting catcher. And then we've got Caden Bodine and Shea Langoliers, Luke Stevenson, and then no one even close in our system like to being ready. Yeah, Aiden Roberts would be the closest prospect we have, and he's still 20 years old and probably at least 2 years out from playing. Um, yeah, so we'll have to see. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where we stand. Definitely, you know, a lot of our core is locked up for the long term if we go to salaries. Like PCA, we have for another 2 years, and then we'll kind of evaluate then. Perdomo, we only have for 1 more year, but that is kind of, he kind of had a little bit of a disappointing year last year, only 1.1 more. So I'll probably look to move on from him after this season anyway. Volpe and Santana are both locked up long term. Stelling, I kind of regret locking him up long term. He ended the year in AAA after the long DL stint he had for his, I think, back issues. Yeah, sore back, was transferred to the 60-day IL, and yeah, there he shall stay in the minors until we'll call him up for spring training, or if someone wants to draft him in the Rule 5 draft, I think he's technically going to be eligible. But yeah, I have at him if you want him. Yeah, so catcher will be the big question mark this off season, I think. And every other position I feel pretty good about. We have some, I feel like locking up Santana long term was probably a good move. He had another solid season. He's been consistently a 3 WAR player for us, like at the major league level. 2.2 WAR his first season, but that was across 100 games, and then 3.6, 3.2, 3.1. Like, that's solid. And then we have him for another, 5 seasons after this with options for more if we want it. And that defense should, hopefully stay elite for a while. Kurtz has been a little disappointing as well. I mean, I'd say pretty disappointing compared to his last year. Yeah, his home runs were way down. He went from 42 home runs last year to just 19 this year. And that's really not what I'm looking for at DH, especially when you have guys like DeJesus and guys like Gerald Zimmerman, who both project to be pretty good DH type players, kind of waiting in the wings. And we'll see. I might end up like waiving or trading Kurtz at some point. Even though he was an all-star last year, like yeah, probably doesn't deserve to be one now, and may not deserve to be on the roster next year. So, um, yeah. So in terms of like making sure our catcher position is taken care of is priority number one, and then priority two would just be finding other good hitters. We have guys that can play the outfield. Like our infield, like second base and short is pretty set. Center field is set at least for the next few seasons. Beyond that, like I don't think anyone's locked into a starting position, especially with Keyshaw potentially leaving in free agency. Like we might look to trade for an outfielder. Um, Perdomo has been disappointing. Coffee's been good though, so like we can play Coffee at either first or third. Cooper Kinney's really only a first baseman. So like someone else that could maybe play that role, corner outfield, and then DH type maybe on like a 1 year rental. Um, and then pitching wise, oh, I forgot to mention both Brock Burke and Landon Ropp had option years that I picked up for next year. So Burke will be back for like $3 million, and then Landon Ropp is going to be hurt for still a good chunk of the year. He tore his UCL and still has 6 months of recovery left, so he won't be back until May or so. But still has solid looking ratings. Was solid for us in 2030, and across 4 whole innings in 2031 had been solid as well. So we'll bring him back, see what he's got. I think he might even have another team option after that. No, just next year, but it doesn't hurt to bring him back for $3 million. We've got the budget to do that. We've got the budget to be somewhat active in free agency if we want to as well. I think I'll kind of earmark a portion of that for Baldwin most likely. Keyshaw, if he keeps the demand that he wants, we might just let him go. Roman Anthony is an intriguing name maybe as like his replacement. He did have a down year last year too, which is, you know, might be a good buy low kind of guy depending on what he's looking for in free agency because yeah, his stats before that were really solid, right? Like pretty consistently good for Boston, and then a down year for Philly where they looked to even trade him, I think, at the trading deadline, and I guess couldn't find any buyers there. And his fielding's pretty good, so yeah, depending on what he wants, that might be an option as well. Austin Riley had a decent year last year for the Braves. He did not want to play for us. We looked to trade for him at the trade deadline, and he used his no trade clause to refuse that. Sandy Alcantara, like, if he would sign for like cheapish 1 year deal, might be a good option as well. Yeah, I think that's basically where I'm at with the off season. I don't think there's too much more to worry about before we do awards. I don't know if we'll have many guys up for awards this year. I think that as we go here, yeah, there's no like stolen base award, right? And we didn't come close to leading in WAR. The one I maybe would think about is depending on how much they value saves versus just overall performance. Like, I would think that Chris Bourgeois has an outside chance of at reliever of the year, with 2.5 WAR on the season, sub 2 ERA, still a solid 32 saves too when he was not our closer for a chunk of the year. Yeah, so we'll look to see that. I'll probably just sim until those awards. I don't think there's a lot of interesting choices to make until the actual free agency starts, because I probably won't look to make any trades until then either, unless there are guys that, um, yeah. Oh, I do need to show the dev lab and waiver claims still. Okay, I got sidetracked talking about arbitration and free agency for a while. So I did make two waiver claims. Both Armando Cantera looks, decent. He's 21. Andrew Salas, he's only 23 and has pretty good defensive ratings there. Is out for 2 months, but both those guys, if we can grab them and stash them in the minors, would be solid fits. And then our player development lab, of course. I might look to up this at some point to more than 10 slots. That's kind of the direction I've heard from a lot of people, at least kind of getting general consensus about the development, is that it seems like it's a bit slower than past games. And there's definitely kind of, been some of that in my sim so far, where guys like Clevenger have kind of just sat at 2 stars, I think, for the entire year, after improving in 2030, like just hasn't developed at all since then, despite playing an entire season in the minors. And yeah, and in terms of who I chose to put in the development lab, prioritizing guys who were both under 25 and like big league ready or close to big league ready. So that would be basically everyone in this first list here. Some of our top prospects in Fellman and Tsutsumi, and then guys that are kind of on the borderline of like the AA, A plus, AAA, where they could look to play soon. And again, I also like to do like two of my guys as like defense or shorter programs, so that they'll end earlier. And if I pick up anyone interesting in the Rule 5 draft or in a trade, like then I would potentially have a slot for them to get in a long program. That also is potentially something that would be an option for someone like, let's see, Steven Martinez, who has 2 days left on his injury, right? And so he's not eligible for any of these right now. But come 4 to 5 weeks from now, he would be. TJ Strapadopoulos, sadly, will miss that by a month or two. So he does not get any development lab programs this season, which sucks, thanks to his injury. Yeah, it's just a bummer. But hopefully he'll come back strong from that torn meniscus. And he tore that in a blowout loss in Game 3 of that series. So that's doubly brutal, right? He, I don't want to say Derrick Rose, but that's what it reminds me of, right? Where there's a severe injury, although Derrick Rose's was obviously much more severe, and he was a much better player relatively than TJ Strapadopoulos. But yeah, you hate to see guys get hurt in what are essentially meaningless games. But at that point in the game, it was still not meaningless. We were still trying to do everything we could to compete and win that game, even though it looked unlikely, and in fact did not work out. So anyway, that's development lab waiver claims. I think that's it for this part of the off season. I'll definitely show awards. I'll show the Hall of Fame voting when that starts. I will show what our guys decide to do that I offered the qualifying offer. I expect both of them will probably reject and go to free agency. Baldwin almost certainly will. Keyshaw, it's technically around what he was wanting for the season, so he may accept and play out that qualifying offer for us. I mean, it is a big jump up from what he was making this year. But again, I wouldn't mind bringing him back for one more year for $20 million. It's kind of a win-win. I just don't want to sign him long-term for $20 million. That's a big difference. So, yeah, let's head to the rest of the off season here, and I'll see you soon. November 23rd, and we are to the awards. I just went ahead and simmed through all of them. We did get PCA a gold glove here in center field. Well deserved, I think. Surprisingly, his first gold glove at center field. Yeah, I am kind of shocked that he never won one before while playing for Chicago. Like, he had some years that were probably gold glove worthy. But yeah, glad he won this year. And then, you know, Austin Wells actually won the gold glove for the Rangers. Let's see here. Oh, he put up 11.2 framing runs. Yeah, that'd do it. Yeah, some very good framing there. Yeah, yeah. I like that. All right. And then Xander Mueth for the Pirates. Drew Romo, OOTP legend, catcher. Like, yeah, there's no way the Rockies are going to let him go, most likely, but he is the prototypical fielding first catcher. Like, 17.6 framing runs is crazy. Definitely the best defensive catcher in the league. Austin Riley, Ariel Almonte for the Cubs, Ezekiel Duran for the Reds, despite normally being okay. Now that doesn't make he put up negative 18.6 ZR, 14.8 runs from his arm, but yeah, he has a 25 rating in center field, but won a gold glove. Okay, I mean, I guess they value his arm a lot. I don't know. That's kind of odd. Yeah, we did not won the reliever of the year, which, I mean, fair. Like, that's also a very good season. 1.66 ERA, 37 saves, 2.3 WAR. I think Bourgeois did edge him out in WAR, but a slightly higher ERA, less saves. You know, and he also plays for the A's instead of the Yankees, so that is going to be a detriment to him as well. But he finished in a strong second place. And let's see, Ovis Portes for the Expos won, and he looks like a solid reliever, but maybe not, you know, reliever of the year material. Luke Little on the Phillies now. Yeah, maybe the relievers in general in the NL were just like slightly underwhelming. Yeah, Redmond led the NL with 35 saves. Okay, and then Platinum Stick. I don't think we had any winners there. We did not. You know, we had a few guys that were probably close. Yeah, Gunnar Henderson is gonna win that every time, and then yeah, Julio Rodriguez in center field. Yeah, not too surprised there. Eduardo Tate. I think there are several good pitcher or catchers in the NL that can win that usually, and I think Jackson Merrill led the league in WAR. You know, 2 consecutive years he's put up over 7 WAR. AL Rookie of the Year, we did not have any nominees, which makes sense. I don't think that there were any notable rookies that played a lot of time for us this year. Killingsworth, Miller, Stroman, Jaden Stroman, who, by the way, I looked at as a Rule 5 pick and ended up putting up 4.2 WAR for the year. I think he got drafted before we even got a chance to pick in the Rule 5 draft, but I think I had thrown him on my short list as a guy to kind of watch because he, you know, was a two-way player and had solid ratings at both pitcher and batter. So, NL Rookie of the Year, Humberto Maldonado for the Stars. Also a Rule 5 pick. That's interesting. He must have, he must have had some development there throughout the season. Yeah, let's see. He started out the year as a 2-star player and ended the year as a 4-star potential player. Wow. Okay. So he had a lot of development there. Yeah, they just saw something in him, I guess. Yeah. Juan Martinez, he looks very good as well. Yeah. and only 21 years old. Yeah, this is, I think, kind of what I've heard is that the other team's prospects have no issues developing at super young age, while your guys kind of stagnate a bit in the minors. Yeah, Juan Martinez, age 21, number 10 prospect in baseball, and looks to be very, very good with still room for improvement here. Um, and then skipper of the year, AJ Hinch. Yeah, aka the team that won the most games in the league this year. So yeah, the Tigers and the Mets, and they were just the top two teams in the league. Like, um, I wish it took other like potential storylines into account, maybe where you know a team that improved, like the Royals, were probably a good story this season. Like they made the playoffs after a long absence. The D-backs made the playoffs after a long absence. You know, who else? I don't think the Brewers had been in for a bit. They won the division. The Stars made their first ever playoffs. But no, let's just give it to the top two teams in the league, in each league. Okay, cool. Um, anyway, I mean, I guess theoretically I could. I don't even know if you can vote on manager of the year. I know you can vote for the other awards, but that's I don't know about that one. Pitcher of the year, aka the Cy Young. Yeah, Minho An. I think that's his second consecutive Cy Young. Yeah, it is his second consecutive Cy Young, and he had another great season. Not quite on the same level as his season the year before, but um, still a very elite pitcher. Tyler Fay for the Royals gets second. Hunter Green, who we unfortunately had to face in the playoffs and just absolutely demolished us in his start, gets third. Atencio for the Mariners. Bradish, who we also had to face in the playoffs. Um, we did manage to get to him a little bit. And then, yeah, Briones for the Royals, who looks solid as well. NL, Luis Cabrera. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, he's locked up long term for them too, getting paid $39 million at the end of his deal. But you know, you maybe take that if you're the Mets. And then MVP, Riley Green for the Tigers wins it in the AL over Julio Rodriguez. Julio had slightly more WAR and a better average, but then Riley Green had led the league in RBI, led the league in OPS, hit 37 home runs versus Julio only hit 28, I suppose. And then Bobby Witt Jr. Has he won an MVP yet? He has not. He's made a lot of All-Star games and won a lot of Gold Gloves, but I don't think he's won an MVP award yet. He keeps getting beaten out by guys like Julio, Riley Green, Gunnar Henderson, I think has one. Yeah, he got one in 2029. Wyatt Langford. Yeah. And then in the NL, Jackson Merrill, that's not surprising. He led the league in WAR. Luis Pena for the Brewers, a very good young player. Yeah, very good real life player, apparently. And just reaching arbitration this year, it looks like. Yeah, so those are the awards for the year. We're about a week out from actual arbitration and free agency. All of our guys that were arbitration eligible did re-sign for the 1 year deal. Here are the guys we've got left in the minors here. I'll need to look and see if any of them are worth, doing the classic, throw them on the 40 man and then waive them at the start of free agency. Like, maybe we take another flyer on Zapata for a year. I mean, Montero had a solid season. He's decent depth. JD Dix, has 3-star potential, but is he ever going to reach that potential? I don't know. Um, Alejandro Vera, like, still has some potential, but is 25. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'll definitely let you know when we get to the start of free agency because I'm sure there will be a lot of interesting decisions to make there. So I'll see you soon. Okay, quick dev lab update. Our two short programs have reached the halfway point, and both are frustrated so far. Justin Grant right on the borderline of being successful for his infield defense, while Zimmerman's right on the borderline of being struggling, which could potentially lead to losing ratings. So I am going to go ahead and pull him out at the halfway point here. And then we're just going to, let's see, go to prospects. I think he's going to get thrown back in here for just a long program, most likely. We could throw in someone like Alex Rivera, too, who looks quite good. I did see a bunch of improvements in his ratings. Current I rating improved from 45 to 50. So I doesn't need any more. Let's do his avoid Ks. That's always a plus to improve. It's a little harder to improve that, but if it pays off, it pays off. So we'll do two strike approach here. And yeah, we're almost to free agency, so I will go ahead and sim to that and see you soon. All right, it is December 2nd, the first day of free agency, and as expected, both Drake Baldwin and Luke Keyshaw did reject the qualifying offers and are filing for free agency. So, kind of debating what to do here. I think, this is what I ultimately ended up going with, at least for now. I did look to just put in an offer for Austin Wells, and then I'll get to Orion Kirkring in a second. But if you look at, as we'll go to batting free agency, Drake Baldwin, obviously very good, right? Like, he wants a lot of money, though. He's now raised his offer to 6 years, $30 million, right? Like, we could get that a little bit lower, maybe, but he's already been, spurned by us before, or we've been spurned by him, I guess. Austin Wells, on the other hand, pretty comparable WAR. And if you look at the contract that I offered him, I think it just makes more sense. That last year's a player option year, 25 million, 24, 22, 21. Like, that is not, I think that's less than it would cost to retain Baldwin. And there's a lot of pluses here. If you look at those two head to head, like, ratings wise, Austin Wells is just the better player currently. He's got, they're pretty comparable in terms of hitting ratings, overall and potential. He hits lefties better, very slightly hits righties better, but pretty even. Better on the base paths, is better defensively. This extra 5 framing is huge. And he also has ratings for the infield and outfield, so like you could potentially play him at first or in left field, right field. Baldwin, you can't do any of that. So all those things considered, the biggest plus that Baldwin has is that he's only 30. Austin Wells is 32. So this is the age where you could start to see some declines happen. So that does give me a little bit of pause. Both of them are compensation types. So we will lose a compensation pick for signing Wells, whereas we wouldn't with Baldwin. But we will also gain a pick when someone else signs Baldwin. So I guess that's kind of a wash. And then in terms of Luke Keyshaw, like, he just wants a lot of money for what he offers. Like, he wants a very long-term contract, about $20 million a year. Like, even if he ends up taking a 5-year deal for 20 million, I don't know if that's worth it. I do have my eye on a few. Lawrence Butler is an intriguing player, I think. He had a really good season last year. His power jumped way up. Um, it went from 50 to 55 and then again from 55 to 60 over the course of 2031. And so, yeah, like he could be someone that hits a lot of home runs, plays pretty decent defense. Yeah, he also wants a long term, pretty major deal, but I'll kind of keep my eye on him and see, like, if the CPU teams are lowballing him a little bit, I might look to get in on that. I know there was another outfield. Oh, Roman Anthony was. I didn't throw him on my short list, but I should because. He is on the default short list. Okay, but yeah, he definitely had a down year last year, but his seasons before that were all good. Um, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he had like a little bit of a ratings drop in 2031. Current and potential I went from 60 to 55. Current gap from 65 to 60. Like, okay, that shouldn't have caused like this dramatic of a drop. And he is only 27 still and would not come with a compensation pick loss. So again, I'll kind of keep my eye on him. If I could get him for like 3 years, maybe like 15 million a year, I'd consider that. The other thing is we do have to keep a little bit of eye on our budget. Like our budget is higher this year, but I also don't know, like accounting wise, we're still at about 24 million profit, which is that's before the Wells signing, which would pretty much eat into all of that. And again, that doesn't include playoff revenue, but and we have a 16 million starting balance. But that's something to consider as well. Yeah, I mean, we have cash from owner. Yeah, so I think we have a little bit of money to play with, but it would be pretty tight if we signed like both Wells and Anthony, say. Um, we also need to bolster our bullpen a bit, so I went ahead and Orion Kirkering just looked really underrated. At least in terms of like he's got solid ratings. He's put up solid numbers the last few years. 1.1 WAR. Like his ERA is maybe a little on the high side, but he only wanted $1.8 million, and so I threw out a contract to him and then added on 2 team option years at the end. So, I don't mind trying to get in cheap for another bullpen arm. We could use a little bit of bolstering to our bullpen. Levi Sterling, curiously enough, also has decent starter ratings. Like he'll probably be a bullpen arm, but that's interesting to see as well. Yeah, and I'll have to decide to like, you know, could DeJesus be our starting left fielder this year? Maybe. Um, I mean, his defense isn't awful, and I'll probably do a defensive lab at some point in the off season for him as well, just to make him more of a playable outfielder. Like he's already not bad. He's not good, but he's not bad. Yeah, so I'm kind of in on Wells. I'll kind of keep an eye. Hopefully we don't get outbid on him. Um, if we do, maybe we'll get back in on Baldwin. Uh, we'll just kind of have to see how free agency plays out. I definitely want one of those two. There are some intriguing backup options. Like by backup, I mean not guys who would be a backup, but guys who could potentially start. as like a break glass in case of emergency if we don't get Wells or Baldwin. Like, you know, Aliendo wouldn't be the greatest starter, but Patrick Bailey would be okay. Like, he's a very good defensive catcher. And again, he is 32, but $7 million is a lot more reasonable than like what Wells and Baldwin want. Same with Ethan Salas, pretty similar uh, numbers here. Like, he's a very, very good defensive catcher, right? 10.7 framing runs saved. Um, yeah, so we'll have to see. And there's my cat. So yeah, we'll see how free agency goes. I'll kind of cut in and let you know any big updates. I did run the not player development. Well, you can see how player development lab is going so far. Like, more strugglings and frustrated than I would like. We've got 4 that are on track currently out of 10. Under 50%, not ideal. Still a chance for Justin Grant to turn things around here, but it's not looking amazing for him at the moment for his infield defense. Still time for a lot of these guys to do that, though. And then international free agency, I don't really get what happened with like the relationship. Like, usually you start with some relationship with some of these guys, and they all just reset to very weak until I scouted them, and then they all went up to weak. So it's been a weird one this off season, I guess. Maybe these will go up a little bit more as December rolls on. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to see how this kind of goes. But that's where we stand in free agency right now. Rule 5. I don't think there's anyone too crazy to worry about. Like, maybe Joe Soliday is in danger of being taken, but he's still pretty far away too. Like, he is a one pitch pitcher currently, so he still needs some development love here. And then a lot of kind of quad A guys in here. So we'll see how this goes. I'll let you know if we end up signing any big name free agents. Probably Wells will be the biggest splash I'd want to make, but we'll have to see about the others. So I'll update you soon. Okay, so just like that, I am back on a Drake Baldwin. Let me show you Austin Wells in a second, but at least this, I feel like this is less than what I offered him before he even hit free agency. But I'd pay him $24 million a year. That's fine. Drake Baldwin, I did. They initially had it backloaded. I just flip flopped this so that his player option year was lower. That's fine. I'd rather eat the bigger money up front, I think. So that's a decent offer. We're gonna go with it. Austin Wells just wants a little bit more, and it's very tempting to just bite the bullet. It's a difference of like $3 million from what I offered him before, but I think that's significant enough to not do it. Again, I'll have to see if they up the offer on Baldwin. I might flip flop back to Wells. If I was getting them for the same value, I think Wells edges that out, especially since I just did a fresh scouting report on him and his I rating improved from 55 to 60, so he's even better than we thought potentially. So definitely going to be in on both of these guys. I want to get one of those guys for sure. This trade proposal is nothing to get too excited about. I agree. I definitely agree. All right, so let's keep going. We'll see what happens here in free agency. All right, quick dev lab update. As expected, the Justin Grant infield events program concluded with no improvement. I did fill that slot with Alex Rivera, who looks interesting. He's an A ball and improving his control. I mean, you can see he's already got decent stuff for A, just needs more movement and control. Um, yeah, and he has high work ethic, which I like. Ratings across the board are starting to improve. We now have 2 excelling and 4 on track, so 6 out of 10 on track or better, and then 1 currently under assessment. So definitely great. Still no update on the catcher situation. It's only been a few days since I put in the offer for Baldwin. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right, it is December 17th. Some free agency updates. We did lose Luke Keyshaw officially. We never put in an offer for him, so that was somewhat expected. 7 years, $97 million, which, is not awful, but he also, he's had one good season. His Minnesota, the year that we traded for him, I guess he put up over 3 WAR as well. But he's like a good player, but not a great player. And so, I don't know if I'd want to be paying him that long. It's not like an exorbitant amount of money to be paying him that long, but sure. We also get a supplemental first round pick for losing him. So, that's not bad either. I mean, we'll be picking in the late first anyway, so kind of whatever. But, more draft picks are never a bad thing. Lawrence Butler also playing in New York for the Mets, 5 years, $27.2 million per year. I mean, that's a lot of money. Probably more money than I was going to pay him. I did put in an offer for Roman Anthony, just seeing that Butler signed. Not anything close to what he wanted. He's looking for a 6-year, $18.6 million deal. I did 3 years for, an average of $11 million. I think it was 12, 11, 10. I mean, that's definitely a bit of a low ball offer for sure. But we'll have to see. Maybe there's not going to be much interest there, and we can grab him for cheap and kind of look to have him as kind of a reclamation project. Whatever. So we'll keep going here. Still waiting to see. Let's check in on Austin Wells too and see, like, the Mets were the last one to offer him a deal, and the Mets are still in on him. So the Mets looking to spend a lot of money this free agency. After signing Butler, they're in on Wells. They do like to spend. I mean, they are still paying Juan Soto, by the way, which last I checked, he was not doing well at all. Okay, so he had a bit of a bounce back year this year, but he had a rough 2029, as you can see, a .5 WAR for the season, but then in 2030 and 2031, he seems to have bounced back a bit. So back to doing Juan Soto things. They are still paying him for another 8 seasons after this, $51 million. So how they have the money to sign any more players is kind of beyond me, I guess. Well, when your budget's $394 million, I guess you can kind of sign whoever the hell you want to, right? Like, yeah, that's crazy. Okay. For reference, our budget is $296. So they're a full, $100 million ahead of us. Yeah. Just an extra $100 million a year to spend. No big deal. All right. So let's keep going. Winter meetings are starting. I might poke around and see if there's any interesting trade ideas slash options out there, but we'll see. All right, so we are back in on Austin Wells. Very active free agency period here. Um, yeah, this is still not awful value, although, you know, if we get too much higher, it's going to be interesting to see, like, I mean, we need a catcher. And Drake Baldwin not only wants more money, but also wants more money than Austin Wells currently does. And I think I value Wells a little bit more. Seattle now in on Drake Baldwin. Um, yeah, so we'll need to see if these values keep getting pushed up. I mean, one of our backup options is gone. Ethan Salas signed with Chicago for $7.7 million a year. I mean, it's a little pricey for a guy who has not put up great WAR throughout his career, but he does have very elite fielding skills. So, yeah, we'll need to see kind of how this progresses here. That's probably a no. Yeah, I'm rejecting that trade outright. All right, and yeah, we'll keep rolling through free agency here. Cutting in here with a classic OOTP injury update. Connor Griffin got injured and suffered a sore wrist after his kid ran into him with his bike. Okay. It's only a 2 week injury, so not even a concern. Like, he'll be fine by the time the regular season kicks in, but just a funny update. Still waiting to hear back from Austin Wells, almost to the Rule 5 draft, actually. Um, yeah, let me make sure that my roster is in shape, and then we'll do that live on camera. All right, it is Rule 5 draft time now, and yeah, it's the only real change I made to my roster was I did add Cheng Sen Ko um, to the roster. He um, put up decent numbers in Double A and Triple A last year, and with Keishal gone, like, there's a decent chance that he could see playing time this year, and I'd say there's also a decent chance that he might have been snagged in Real 5. So we're protected. We've got open slots. I'll probably look to draft about 5 guys again. It's just worked out that way every year, and I threw some guys on a short list. As per the usual that I like, here's my full short list of guys. I think top priority will be grabbing an outfielder or two because of Keishal. I do want, let's see, I think the top target would be Russ Dean in terms of he looks like someone that is pretty much ready to play at the major league level, or it could at least do decently at the major league level. He's 22. He's got good outfield defense. Okay, offensive numbers. Former first round pick. Yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense to grab. There's also Juan Cabada, who I looked in the history. We actually grabbed him in the Rule 5 draft in 2029. Didn't end up making the final team. 2 years later, he shows back up again, still putting up solid numbers in the minors. So, not as good in AAA. Ended the year at Double A doing fairly well. He can play multiple positions too, which is always a plus. Like, his ratings are good enough to play both infield and outfield. So, tempting there. Ethan Mosley just looks like a solid all-around player. He's a little older, but put up 2 WAR in AAA. So, he would be a decent backup, I think. Danny Aguilar looks pretty decent as well overall. He's coming off an injury, but, he'll be healthy by the time the actual regular season starts. Actually, by the time spring training starts, most likely. And then Braylor Guerrero, he looks okay. He just put up decent numbers, so think he got thrown on there. He's probably below these other four guys in priority. So, and then I do like Andrew French a lot too for pitchers. Yeah, he has never thrown above rookie league ball, but I think this is more just the CPU like sticking him at a level where he could probably perform better. Like he looks like he's basically a major league caliber reliever right now. So definitely could use some bolstering of the pen. Lorenzo Farusco, he's like borderline being able to pitch in the majors. If he gets a little bit of a bump, I think he's usable as a reliever for sure. And he's only 21, always a plus. Ditto Tony Martinez, who's got several good pitches, could be a starter, has high work ethic, is 22, almost 23. But yeah, all three of those guys look pretty solid. And then other batters, let's see. Catcher, I think Gabriel Davalillo, Davalillo, put up solid numbers in Double A last year. He was on our short list, I think, last year, and we ended up grabbing our other backup catcher, Dylan Moss, instead, who ended up having a pretty decent season for his first big league season at age 23/24. Yeah, and Davalillo can kind of play other positions too. Like, I probably wouldn't play him outside of first base and maybe outfield, and then obviously catcher. He's got solid ratings there. And let's see here. Chris Page also just looks very solid all around. Just turned 25, but yeah, might not hurt to have a catcher, given that we don't know our current catcher situation. Jody Gorman, he looks just solid overall. Dorian Soto has good defensive ratings. Probably would cross train him at second as well. And then Santiago Leon, yeah, all these guys just look like solid infielders that I wouldn't mind grabbing as like a backup infield spot. So yeah, let's get into Rule 5. And again, I'll probably look to target about 5 guys in the draft this year. All right, let's start the draft. And first, let's see if any of our guys get taken. No. Anyone that we were looking at. Ethan Mosley was one that I was looking at for sure. Chase Maydroth. Jorge Fernandez. He was not on my list, but he looks pretty solid overall. Juan Cabada was on my list. And Javier Rodriguez. Yeah, his defense is a little too low for my liking. All right, so let's look at outfielders. And yeah, shortlisted, that's fine. I think I like Russ Dean the best out of it. It's also showing our prospects on here too. So like Kyle Boylston. What list is he on? Oh, my list of cuts. Yeah, probably should clear that off, I imagine. Because all these guys are either no longer on my team or yeah, that list that I use that for culling my minor leagues. So yeah. Okay, this looks much better. And then Brady Gerhard is in our system, but he's not going to get taken. I don't need to worry about that. Okay. So it'd be between Dean and Aguilar, and I might take both, honestly, just to have that extra outfield depth. I think I like Dean a little better, maybe. Well, let's look at him head to head. So Aguilar has the better hitting ratings currently, I'd say. And Dean has slightly better power potential. but Aguilar's probably the better hitter overall. He definitely hits lefties better. Dean hits righties better. Dean is slightly better at stealing. Okay, there goes my cat. And Dean is the better defender for sure. So, yeah, honestly, I'll probably just end up grabbing both of these guys. I'll grab Aguilar first just because I think he's more likely to be taken by somebody else. But I'll probably grab Dean immediately after. Unless, of course, he's taken by someone else. And he's not. Okay. Justin Carlander. I always see him and think we have Justin Verlander at home. Sorry if he's a real player. I'm not sure with him coming out of high school in 2026. He might be real. And yeah, no one else. Alexis Espinoza. He also looks good. Okay, but yeah, Rustine will be the pick here. And then I think we'll look to draft a pitcher maybe. Joel Heredia. Yeah, let's grab one of those pitchers. I like French, I think, the best in terms of guys that can make an immediate impact. No one else grabbed anybody. Okay, and then out of the rest of these pitchers, Salade, Barantis are in our system. Castillo looked interesting, but I don't. Yeah, he was in our system and then got signed by the Astros. I think I just didn't want to pay him big league money. So Farusco or Martinez would be the pick here. And let's compare them again. Whoops, not scouting report. Okay. So Farusco has slightly better stuff currently. Has much better movement potential, but then Martinez edges him out on stuff and control. Martinez is better against lefties. Farusco's younger. Yeah, because I'll probably only grab one of these guys. MLB season stats, doesn't matter. Okay, pitching ratings. A 4-pitch mix versus a 5-pitch mix for Martinez. But again, I think the higher movement plays better in 26. So I'm going to do Farusco. And then last, we could look to grab Davalillo or Page to solidify our catcher position. Let's do another head-to-head here. El Machete. Ooh. Chris Page has a better nickname. Davalillo doesn't even have one, so there's a point in his favor already. Pretty similar in terms of potential, I'd say, for batting. I like better contact better, although the power is nice on Davalillo. I think Page is a better hitter overall, definitely a better hitter currently. He is also older. And then the defensive ratings, I think, pretty similar. Better blocking for Page, better arm for Davalillo. But Page can also kind of play outfield. think I'll do Page just because, like, you know, if we're starting him at catcher, I think something has gone terribly wrong, but I think we need that extra depth right now. So we'll do that. And then we'll go ahead and complete the draft here. So that's our Rule 5 draft. Yeah, I don't think... I'll probably start looking to find guys to, as Cole Mathis was signed. He was a guy that I wanted to kind of bring on for cheap, maybe. He's a two-way player too, apparently. Okay. But yeah, mainly for his bat, honestly. He put up, 1.2 WAR in 2030 and then was hurt, I think, in 2031. So, yeah, that kind of sucks to miss out on him, but not a huge deal overall. Zebby Matthews, I like for his name. Yeah, Roman Anthony. Let's see kind of what. Yeah, still no offers on him, but still not willing to look at our offer yet either. And we are currently in on Wells and out on Baldwin. So I did have to up the offer slightly on Kirkering as well. He came back and said, no, hey, pay me more money. So yeah, he's 3.5 million a year is fine for a reliever like him. But we'll see. I'll definitely let you know once we find out more about our catcher update. So, or January 1st, whatever comes first. All right, so Austin Wells wants even more money. And we're starting to get into the realm of, like, potentially overpaying these guys, I think. But I still think, given where we're at and that we need a catcher, like, we might still do a slight overpay. 29.2 mil for Baldwin versus per year versus 33 million for Wells per year. I just don't know. I think I'm going to stay in on Wells. Yeah, it's a tough call. But let's stay in on Wells. I just hope that is good enough. I can't, if I lose out on Baldwin, then I'm kind of stuck going for Wells. But we'll have to see how that plays out as Grant Stevenson. I can read. Shepherdson. Wow. Whatever. Okay. We continue on. January 1st. Still waiting for an update on our catcher situation, but here's the next round of international private training. Again, everyone's just average across the board with the exception of Luis Medina, who I just added on there. I'm not quite sure why I didn't have him on there to begin with. He's got high work ethic and IQ, and he's got pretty solid hitting and defensive ratings. There's definitely a disparity in how OSA rates him versus how my scout rates him, but not like a huge disparity, honestly. I don't know why that's the difference between 2.5 and 5 stars, but his demand's also quite low, so hopefully we can get our relationship up a little bit more. It's currently very weak, but yeah, it's gonna do the thing too where preseason will begin the last day of January, which will also be when we can do the first day of international free agency. What I'll likely do is sim one day so I can get in another practice session, get those relationships higher, and then look to sign guys after that. So that's my plan as of the moment. Yeah, and we are still waiting to see if Wells will take our offer or not. Yeah, we we need a resolution on that catcher situation sooner rather than later. All right, so this kind of forces our hand, I guess. Drake Baldwin has officially signed with Seattle. The fans are shocked. We do get a supplemental first round pick again. He goes for, wow, what the hell? Okay, so he must have jacked up the price for me, because he signed for way cheaper with the Mariners than what I was offering him. Um, yeah, that's. I mean, I would have signed him for that price. You all saw. I think he got soured a little bit on the negotiations from before and was willing to take a little bit less to leave. So, if that's the case, Austin Wells likes our offer with financial planner, but we really don't have a choice now. We're kind of all in on him, um, because we need a catcher for next year. So, um, let's see here. Yeah, I'll let you know once he decides one way or another. Okay, just a day or two later, but wanted to give a DevLab update. It's the halfway point for most of our long programs and looking pretty good overall. We've got two programs that are excelling for Bourgeois secondary pitch improvement. That would be excellent to get his slider up to, at least a 60 overall. Like that would push his overall ratings up for sure, and he's already pretty dang good. Um, and then DeJesus generate bat speed. If he could get his power up, he might become a monster. Yeah, so two excelling, three on track. That's Swim's velocity, Feldman's bat speed, and Aguilar's control, which, he's one of those pitchers in our system that just needs more control. But he's, unlike some of those other guys, he actually has the control potential to maybe do it. And he's in Double A, so yeah, he's got some time. He's got some time. So yeah, two excelling, three on track, three frustrated or struggling. Struggling is concerning, but he's right on the borderline there, so I'm gonna leave him in because if I pull him out, he might just lose ratings anyway. I might as well see if he can work it back to at least the frustrated side of things, and then Clevenger and Sharpton are both like right on the cusp of being in the green here, so they'll definitely stay in. Overall, pretty happy with this round at DevLab, and even Swim is right on the borderline of excelling too. So, and Aguilar and Feldman are not too far away either. So yeah, very happy with this DevLab. You know, pretty ideal here. You're never gonna succeed in all of them, but that's going pretty well so far. And then one of the two, Rivera's on track with his control. Zimmerman's frustrated with his two-strike approach for the two that are out of sync here that will likely finish up, closer to the start of spring training. Actually, no, those won't finish up until the start of the regular season. But anyway, yeah, we're going to keep going until we find out about Austin Wells because, yeah, I really want to know. Still waiting on Austin Wells to make his decision. But yeah, figured I'd show Hall of Fame voting results. I forgot to show the initial page here, but yeah, you can see Craig Kimbrell came decently close in his first year. Probably will make it in next year, given that he got 69%. Nice, very nice percentage of the vote. Paul Goldschmidt also with a high percentage. He ended up playing to 2036 in this sim. And let's see who else was in their first year. Carlos Santana, Anthony Rendon. His last season was 2026 after missing all of 2025. And then DJ LeMahieu and Charlie Morton both also. All those guys dropped in their first year of eligibility. So you have to imagine Kimbrel will make it in next year. Votto is getting higher up there as well. Goldschmidt, Wainwright is still sticking around. McCutcheon, 21.4 in his second year. He's a guy who could maybe make it in at some point. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, still waiting on Austin Wells. Let's see. The day has finally come. Austin Wells is officially an Oakland A. Final contract was 5 years, $162 million, about 33, 32-ish average per year. Last year's a player option. Yeah, he looks to be our starting. I mean, he is our starting catcher. There's no looks to be about it. He's our starting catcher for the near future. We did lose a third-round pick for starting him, but again, we did get comp picks for both Keyshaw and Drake Baldwin, first-round picks for both of them. So I'll need to look and see. Yeah, I'll keep our draft budget at 15 mil. Our slot amounts have gone up because we do have those comp picks now. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, let's see. Oh no, Roman Anthony hasn't signed yet. I'm still keeping my eye on him. Like, he seems like a decent buy low guy. I say buy low, and I offered him $11 million a year. Like, he is coming off a bad season, but did well before that. I want to sign him for like 3 years. I think he makes a lot of sense to bring in. Front office salaries, yeah, it does get bumped up. Here's where our salaries look like next year, this year and next year. Perdomo comes off the books next year. Rob will likely, we'll have to see how he does this year. Same with Brandon Fott. I imagine he probably won't be on the team next year. We've got a few guys that are, heading into arbitration second year, in Bello and Jones, who will get a pay bump, but yeah, only overall salary is only projected to go up $3 million between this year and next year, and our payroll is just shy of 170. Still under budget for the year. Still projected to, we're projected to make a loss on the season right now, but again, that's without playoff revenue. And we could end up spending less in the draft. So we'll have to see. Yeah, so we will carry on. Yeah, we keep getting trade proposals that I don't really care about. Zimmerman is on track now. That's good. I think he was one that was previously not on track. Yeah, so he's on track. Everyone else still doing roughly the same, I think. Swim might have gone down slightly, but DeJesus is definitely excelling. Yeah, let's see how these guys do as we lead up to spring training. Oh, I didn't show this on camera either, I think. Orion Kirkring signed as well. He's going to slot in probably as a setup man for us. We kind of had a bit of a gap there last season. We had, I think, Sterling filling that role for part of it. Fernandez was solid, but not spectacular. Lighter. We've got a bunch of guys that can kind of we'll see who steps up. Like Bourgeois is pretty locked in as our closer, but kind of a lot of guys besides that could see playing time depending on how things go. Desan Hill was not spectacular, but he was good the year before that. So we'll have to see. But those are my big free name acquisitions that I was going for. They're locked up now. So yeah, now we look to see, where else we can add to the team. It's tempting to bring in someone like Patrick Bailey as the backup catcher, just on a 1-year deal. But we have guys that can back him up. Um, it still is funny to me that Seiya Suzuki is now a catcher at 37 years old. Whatever works, I guess. Whatever works. Now, all those guys that convert to playing catcher in their 30s, like it happens all the time. It's just, a regular big league occurrence when guys convert to catcher halfway through their careers. So, um, yeah, we're gonna keep simming here. I'll probably sim to maybe, oh yeah, preseason, because that will be international free agent signing as well. So that's about a week away. I will see you then. All right, it's February 4th. It's actually slightly past the international free agent um, signing. Yeah, that started on January 31st, as I suspected. Weirdly, the cap went down from last year to this year. I don't know exactly why. Kind of a weird thing again. We are trying to get both Danny Sanchez, who was the prospect I liked the best just overall, and then Luis Medina, who is 5-star prospect, who can be gotten for fairly cheap, 1.1 million. Actually was looking to take less than that. I'm also looking to sign a bunch of guys to minor league deals right now, highlighted by Patrick Bailey, who was very solid last year, and honestly wouldn't mind bringing him on as a backup catcher or minor league depth. And then Enrique Bradfield Jr. put up 2.2 WAR. Has a really solid glove. 8.7 ZR. Again, like this would most likely be minor league depth, but yeah, not bad at all for that. Exactly the type of guys you want to bring in on minor league deals. So we'll see. Yeah, just doing some waiver claims, some minor league deals, seeing how international free agency goes. So let's keep simming day by day here. As Patrick Bailey, let's see what he wants here. Sure, I don't really care if he wants a $3 million minor league option deal. Has a bunch of my minor league guys sign. Luis Medina wants more money. Okay. John Spikerman was one of our waiver claims. Okay. Let's see. Mikel Garcia was annoying. Tried to sign him to a minor league deal with the major league option and just didn't agree to it ever. Let's see. So Luis Medina wants more money. I think we are still waiting to see on Sanchez, see what he does. Because if he wants more money, I might have to make a decision there, but we'll see. Patrick Bailey likes that. Roman Anthony, what did he end up signing for? Okay, so a little more than I was offering him, but not that much more. That's fine. I think we'll be okay without him. Yeah. Danny Sanchez does sign with us. That's nice. So now let's look to see. We have money left. What was Medina's offer? 17. Okay, 1.7. So out of our range now. We do have 1.2 million left to spend. So let's get in on some cheap guys here. I think we had 2 guys that were on the short list. Felipe Vasquez was one, and the other was not Medina. Luis Barrera, maybe? I mean, Barrera just looks good in general. 1 second. All right, back now. Let's see if we can get in on Barrera or if he is... no, the White Sox have only offered him $800K. Let's offer him 9. He likes our organization, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah, not a lot of guys left. I mean, this is pretty much who we're going to roll into the season with, minus maybe some other minor league option type of guys. I don't think there were many people out there that I was super interested in. Sandy Alcantara's still out there, which is kind of an interesting name. Hasn't even had offers yet. Well, let's see. What would be a super like buy low deal on Sandy Alcantara? Like 7 million with 2 team option years. Okay. Yeah, he did not take that deal. Let's see if he, gets any offers. Kind of keep my eyes on him out there. Yeah, Soriano. Lots of pitchers still out there. Lots of pitchers. Aaron Nola. Let's look at pitchers real quick because I am curious. Alcantara and Nola are the 2 highest by WAR. Soriano has a good ERA. What about FIP? You say Kikuchi, Tristan McKenzie, Michael King. Michael King looks like he could slot in as a decent reliever more than anything. But could start. I'd pay him like $3 million. Okay. Let's put colors out for 5 months. I'm not paying you $10 million to miss half the season. Okay. Oh yeah, Jake Neely. Another waiver claim. I did get a decent amount of pitchers through waiver claims this offseason. Just trying to get guys that will maybe fill in as depth in our bullpen. Barrera wants more money. Can we afford him? No. Okay. So then next up would be Felipe Vasquez. We'll offer him an even $1 million. Okay. Alex Rivera is frustrated with his development program. That's a shame because he was actually doing quite well at the start of the program. Yeah, still kind of hanging in there. DeJesus has been excelling and stayed at excelling. So hopefully that continues to track. He's done well in just about every development program I've tried to throw him in, honestly. Yeah, that's fine. Medina signs with Boston. Bailey did sign with us. That's good. And Vasquez signed with us. Okay, so is there anyone I can sign for $250 million, maybe. Vanni Lazzarini. Ooh, I like that name, and I like the contact too. So I don't like the offer. All right, Jose Reyes. He's got high work ethic. He's fragile, but sure, he would take exactly 250K. All right, so I'll just go ahead and sim through here. We're getting close-ish to spring training. Not too much else interesting is going to be happening here. We did grab our biggest signing, Danny Sanchez, another 5-star potential player. And then who else did we grab? Felipe Vasquez. So just 2 players in this year's international free agency, but Sanchez looks really solid, honestly. I'm okay with that. And weirdly, the budget went down, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening there, but yeah, we're gonna keep simming. Excuse me. We're gonna keep simming, and then yeah, I think probably nothing interesting until spring training. So I will see you then. We are officially into spring training, and DevLab programs have concluded. Pretty good results overall, I'd say. Chris Bourgeois, outstanding for his secondary pitch. His slider is now up to a 60 out of 85. Both fastball and slider, 85 potential. Yeah, very good stuff there. Swim is successful, increasing his velocity. That's good. Yeah, all his pitches got bumped up as a result. Love to see that. DeJesus, power. Wow. Potential power improved by less than 5. Current power improved by 15. He's up to now a 60 out of 65 potential in power. Like, he is looking really good. Clevenger, no improvement. Sharpton, quality of contact, outstanding. Potential and current BABIP up by less than 5. I don't think that's been reflected yet. I do have him in left field in spring training. Feldman, no changes. Tsutsumi, no changes. And then Aguilar, improved control, outstanding. And now he's up to a 3.5-star potential player. Yeah, I love to see that. And he is, gonna play in spring training a little bit for us too. He'll start the year in the minors, but yeah, get some experience in spring training. So, DevLab programs, mainly just a lot of outfield defense, infield defense, some base stealing for Volpe and Shelby, Shelley, just to get them up to truly elite base stealing levels, I hope. And then some prospect defense. Aiden Roberts, who's an A+, could use some more catcher defense, so we'll see how that goes. And then Tsutsumi, trying to get him up to elite defensive levels at shortstop here. So we'll see how those go. Preseason predictions. Let's see here. I haven't looked at these yet. Yeah, they're predicting us to win 89 games and still win the division, so I'll take that. Slightly down from last year's numbers, but we do lose Baldwin. Excuse me. We do lose Baldwin, and we lose Keyshaw, so that makes sense. This Brett Baggy is now on Cleveland. They were trying to trade him, I know, so what did they end up trading for him? Pablo Sandoval and Francisco Valle. Okay. But yeah, we're going to sim through spring training. Pete Crow Armstrong got a minor injury, but yeah, we're going to play it safe and put him on the IL for the first part of spring training. And then, yeah, here's how our graph depth chart looks to start spring training. So we'll see how that goes. Actually, we're going to do that. So Scott Sharpton will get some left field playing time. Although we'll want DeJesus in there too because, yeah, he's, yeah, gonna probably start the year with the big league team. Um, he's not a top 100 prospect, so we might have to do some uh, service time shenanigans, perhaps, but maybe he'll jump up to a top 100 prospect after his massive gains in the off season. Because he sure looks the part right now. Like, I'd put him at a top 100 prospect personally, but that's just me. I'm biased. So, anyway, yeah, we'll see how spring training goes. Okay, it's March 7th. I forgot to record this on the day that it happened. But Cutter Coffee got a injury. He's got a sore shoulder, out for 6 weeks at the time of the injury, 5 to 6 weeks now. So he will miss the start of the regular season. Also, surprise, I forgot to mention that we were in on Sandy Alcantara, who signed with us for $7 million this year. Yeah, he's kind of our, you know, our Imanaga replacement for the year. I don't know if we need him, but I don't think having more pitching depth is ever a bad thing. So we'll see how things go. He'll probably slot in as a starter if, more likely when we have a rotation injury in the rotation. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. Another update here. We did manage to successfully pull off the low ball on Lance McCullers Jr. He signed a 1 year, $3.5 million deal. He will start the year on the IL for 4 months. Again, more pitching depth. Never a bad thing. And our player development lab, let's take a look here at all of our various programs. We have 3 that are excelling, with Rivera, DeJesus, and Shelley all excelling on various programs. 2 on track with Aguilar and Volpe, and then the rest frustrated or struggling. Connor Griffin struggling with his infield defense is frustrating. Well, it's struggling. It's not frustrating, but anyway. He will. I mean, if I pull him out now, he could potentially lose ratings. So I think we'll leave him in and hope that he gets things back up. And at least, there's still time for him to maybe turn it around, but it doesn't look very likely. Everyone else is high enough where I'm going to just leave them in and hope that things turn around there as well. But yeah, we'll see. And yeah, in terms of injuries, no other big injuries except for Kevin Davison, one of our top pitching prospects, has bone chips in his elbow and is out for 4 weeks, so he'll miss the start of the season as well. Not that he was likely going to be on the big league club to start the season. He would have started in AAA anyway, but still, you never like to see that with your top prospects, especially ones that are fragile, because, yeah, we don't want him to become injury prone. So we'll see how that goes. It is April 5th, opening day, and yeah, first let's go through DevLab and see how we did, and as you can see, mostly very good. Only 2 no improvements, the rest either outstanding or successful. Alex Rivera looking very good now. He was an A. I bumped him up to A+. Hopefully he can keep rising through the minor leagues here, as this is turning out to be a pretty good scouting discovery from our scout here. And then we've got DeJesus with his outfield defense. Everything went up by 5. He's now a 3-star overall player. I would maybe like to do some service year things with him, but I can't in good conscience send him down to the minor leagues. I think when he looks this good, like we need him starting, I think. So we're just gonna leave him up for now, and he can actually play the outfield, which is nice. I might have to rearrange some of our lineups because I think I have him DHing most of the time, but yeah, he can actually play the outfield. Danny Aguilar, one of our Rule 5 picks, he looks to have decent outfield defense now as well. He's starting the year on the team. We'll see if he sticks around. Sharpton will start the year in the minors, but he also improved his outfield defense, trying to make him more of a utility type player, since that's, I think, his best role to actual playing time in the major leagues. Connor Griffin, we're going to end up using him as a backup for a few infield spots this year, so at least at the beginning of the year. So it's a little unfortunate that his infield defense didn't go up, but not the biggest deal. Both Volpe and Shelley successful in their base stealing programs, so that's, a definite plus for two guys who are already very good at stealing, now even better. Yeah, and we'll make him a little more aggressive base running too. Yeah, do that. All right. And finally, Aiden Roberts, outstanding catching defense, which is nice. We desperately need some good catching prospects coming up in the system, and while he doesn't project to be amazing, he at least projects to be good, and that's better than we've had. So I'll take it. Tsutsumi still, I don't know if he's successfully completed a development program yet so far. Looks like no, no, and no. So that's a little disappointing. He's down to a 3-star overall, or 3-star potential as well. So, still the number 40th prospect in baseball, but maybe someone we look to trade. I don't know. Our minor league system is 20th out of 32 overall. I don't know if I agree with that assessment. Like, it doesn't seem that bad. We've got a lot of guys that are like borderline top 100 prospects, but the only actual top 100 prospects we have are Tsutsumi, Adam Rath, who's coming back from injury. He'll start the year in A+, maybe move up to AA, as he was kind of on the door of doing before he got hurt last year. And then Eddie Rainville starting the year in AA. He's got electric stuff, just needs to figure out that control. So we'll see how he does in AA. Phil Feldman, our first round draft pick last year, still projects to be quite good. I think he was unsuccessful for his Dev League program that he was a part of. And Dupuis still looks solid as well. He'll start the year in A+. Projects to be, a solid infield type as well. Anyway, our opening day rosters. Rotation opening day, Jones, Bellows, Swim, Siebert, and Alcantara I have in the 5th spot right now over Ferris. Basically, yeah, I think I'd rather have Ferris as a stopper for now to bolster our bullpen a little bit versus having him start every, 5 days. I think that makes sense. I think he projects better as a reliever than Alcantara does. Definitely, if any of these guys struggle to start the season, Ferris would be the next up in line to start. But we're going to try this and see how it goes at the start of the season. Since we need more reliable bullpen depth behind our closer, Chris Bourgeois, who will be our closer to start the year, barring any major setbacks. I mean, he didn't have an amazing spring training, but he's going to get some leeway given his performance last year, sub 2 ERA and 2.4 WAR, and theoretically should have only gotten better. I mean, his control went down a little bit, but his stuff and movement both went up. His secondary pitch went up. Like, that should be still electric stuff. Ferris in the stopper role, as I said. Orion Kerkering, he is hurt to start the year, but it's just a dead arm, so I'm not going to put him on the IL for that. Kerkering and Fernandez will be our setup men to start the year. And then our other relievers, French and Ferusca, are both Rule 5 guys. I don't know if they're going to stick around, but I'm going to give them a shot at least. And, they're kind of on a short leash. If they don't do well, have no problem just cutting bait and bringing up another guy from the minors to replace them. But since they are Rule 5 guys, I might as well, see what they've got outside of spring training. And neither of them were particularly fantastic in spring training, but we had some guys with options, so we'll go with that. Arden and Tobias both made the big league club, on the other hand, because of their good spring trainings, both with the sub 2 ERA and good FIP. We'll see if that plays in the regular season. And then Bautista was solid last year, solid but not spectacular, I'd say. So we'll see what he can do in relief this year. And then Robbie Snelling, I mean, we're paying him anyway. He had a disappointing season last year, but a good spring training. And I let him start a few games in spring training too. He could even be a starter still, potentially. I mean, that's what we paid him for. And yeah, we do have 3 more seasons of paying him still. So, if we're paying him anyway, we might as well throw him in the bullpen and see what he's got there. Big names to start the year in the minors are top pitching prospects, Clevenger and Strapodopoulos. Strapodopoulos coming off a major injury and struggled a bit at times in the big leagues last year. Off to a good start so far in the minors this year. Same with Clevenger. Clevenger has yet to get big league time, but did struggle in the minors last year. And then Diego Lopez kind of knocking on the door too. He played in Double-A last year. Will be starting the year in Triple-A. We'll see how he does if he continues to improve. This is a 15th round pick that has just continued to develop and get better and better. So we'd love to see him make the majors off of that. Gustavo Herrera, another interesting relieving prospect. He was pretty up and down during spring training, which is kind of what you'd expect from a guy with 30 control. And then Dylan Moss, we'll get into other lineups here, as we've got starting lineup Wells against righties. Wells, Kinney, Volpe, Perdomo, Santana. I don't think any of those are particularly a surprise. There's definitely a lot of question marks about our outfield positions this year, with Keyshaw no longer being on the team. Right now I have Martinez, Armstrong, Griffin at the 3 outfield spots, with DeJesus at DH, but that can and probably will change throughout the season. We also kept our 2 outfield Rule 5 picks on the team for now in Russ Dean and Danny Aguilar, as well as Enrique Bradfield Jr., who I signed to a minor league deal, and he had a really good spring training. Projects as a very solid defender. So he'll stay up as well as Wade Shelley, who's still, very solid defender at all positions. Also had a good spring training. Was a little underwhelming last year at the MLB and AAA levels, but we'll see. So spending a lot of roster spots on outfielders to start the season. Just Sean Gamble as a backup infielder right now, with Griffin filling in at first and third because he can play both those positions decently well. Volpe was already our backup shortstop, and then, that kind of rolling with that for now. And then Patrick Bailey makes the team as our backup catcher as well. I like his defense, and it's worth noting that if you go to splits against, I have to go to last year. Wells is a lefty and does not hit lefties particularly well. It's not awful, but not great either. So Bailey will get more starts against lefties. That's also pretty much the only difference in our lineup, is that Kinney also doesn't hit lefties well, so Griffin shifts to play first base against lefties, with Shelley slotting into the other outfield spot because he does hit lefties well. So that's our lineup to start the year, and then Moss will stay on the 40-man, start the year in AAA, where he can get starting catching time, maybe continue to develop these ratings a little bit more. he could see some playing time again. Gerald Zimmerman continuing to develop again. I kind of want him at the minors where he's getting regular playing time. I think he was kind of neck and neck with DeJesus for like that DH type of role, and DeJesus with his excellent, off-season development lab and spring training has kind of leapfrogged him there into being, a good-looking player of the future, but still have high hopes for Gerald Zimmerman. Like, he's still only 22 in AAA and should continue to develop. Like, he could be our first baseman of the future easily. And Sharpton starts the year in AAA. Justin Grant also looks intriguing. We'll have to see how he does, as he could be a name that gets called up sooner rather than later. Cheng Sen Ko had a little bit of a disappointing spring training, but off to a very hot start in, one at-bat in AAA. So really hard to judge off of just that. And then, lots of top prospects to watch. I'd say the two Eddies, Rainville and Aguilar, definitely ones to watch. We'll have to see how they develop in Double-A. Glenn Colson also developing nicely. He was a 12th round pick and, again, has consistently been climbing. I doubt anyone at the lower minors will see big league time this season, but it'll be interesting to see how they develop. Obviously, Rath and Rivera at the A+ level. Dupuis is a name to watch. Scott Stanley. Sean Selman was a fairly high catching pick and starting to develop. I think he has only played in rookie ball, so we bumped him up to A because he looks like he can play there. We definitely want to keep developing some catching prospects here. And then a lot of guys got bumped up from the international complex to rookie league ball, and I have 78 players there right now. Not all of those guys are going to make it. I'll definitely call that off camera though, because I don't think that's particularly interesting to watch. So let's see. Oh, one other interesting thing. Nick Kurtz will start the season at AAA. I mean, he struggled last year and then struggled in spring training as well. So he had minor league options. I actually just outright DFA'd him and sent him to the minors. So he's not even on the 40-man right now. We'll see if he can kind of put things together and make it back up to the big leagues. But kind of a disappointing fall for a guy that we had a lot of high hopes for trading for to be our DH type. And, now we've kind of got outfielders / DH types aplenty. So he's one of the odd men out. Brandon Pfaadt, also an odd man out. He refused to get sent to the minors. So we might look to see if we can get anything in a trade for him. If not, I might just eat the cost and release him. But we'll see. But that's our lineup to start the season, and let's see preseason predictions on the first day. Okay, so it does predict 94 and 68, which is fairly close to what we finished last year, I'd say. I think we finished 98 and 64, like something close to what they project the Mariners to do. And then a lot of 90 win predictions. I don't see anyone close to 100. They project the Mariners to be the top team in the league this year. I mean, they were good last year, but I think they didn't make the playoffs, as Pete Crow-Armstrong actually projected to be one of the top hitters in the league this year. I would love that, but we'll have to see. So obviously the goal this year is playoffs or bust. I would say World Series would be the goal again this year. Definitely winning the division. We have high hopes for this team, so we'll have to see how it goes. Thanks for tuning in to this episode, and be sure to come back next time to see how the 2032 season goes. Do the like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. let me know what you think. Like, I mainly just do this for fun, as I'm playing, just because I think it's fun. And I think there's, I like to have stuff like OOTP playthroughs on in the background as I'm, honestly falling asleep. Like, if you like to put this on in the background while falling asleep, I will not be offended. I I do the same thing for YouTube a lot of the time. So just having good, relaxing content. Hopefully, you find this relaxing. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.